Hello, I'm Keener Fry, Executive Director of the University of Wyoming Alumni Association. I am pleased today to be joined by Jeff Pivic. Jeff is Assistant Athletic Director of Integrated Revenue Strategies at Oregon State University Foundation. Jeff's session today is one of many recorded interviews we will be producing with our alumni across the nation. We hope our students and alumni are able to use these informational interviews when deciding on their desired career path or when learning about a new industry. Hello, Jeff, and thank you for joining us today. Jeff, will you share a bit with our alumni and students about what degree you earned at UW and then your pathway from UW to your current position now at Oregon State?
Yeah, first, thank you, Keener. Thank you for having me today. Glad to be a part of this. I'm a 2008 graduate of the College of Education. I earned a degree in secondary education with a current degree in mathematics. Why did I choose this career path? You know, when I was going to school, I thought I would be a high school math teacher because I wanted to be involved in sports. You know, sports have always been a big part of my life while I played. I wouldn't say I was the most talented to get me to that next level. But I still wanted to be involved with competition. It was something that important to me and also something that brings people together. And the energy of game day and the preparation to get there, whether it's on the business side or the athletic side, is just always something that's continued to motivate me to this day. And it's funny, when I first graduated school and started working in the Cowboy Joe Club, I thought it was just really cool to go to work at games and go to places where, sure, this isn't work. I'm working at a game, but it's just interesting. And you know this from working in higher education. The further you get removed, maybe from school, the more and more you learn that it is about the young men and women who are going to school there and what you're actually providing in that impact for those student athletes. So I would say I chose a career path because I wanted to work in sports, and the further and further I've got into it, working in sports is a little bit of the icing on the cake. But what really motivates me now is just the support of our young men and women who happen to be student athletes.
What did some of those early experiences look like, Jeff? I was with you at Cowboy Joe Club, and we were raising money and thought of as fundraisers for athletic scholarships. But I think for some of our folks that are considering possibly a career in athletics, and they may have multiple kinds of degrees, what did those first couple of years look like? What kind of things were you doing to make your career happen?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I wish I would have done, and I would advise, maybe our current students, is try to get involved a little bit earlier than I did. I got involved after I graduated college. But I would tell folks to do a little bit of research. And if you have a passion, research that passion out and find different pathways and different avenues that you can get involved in it. I thought my only way to athletics was being a high school coach. And I learned that at 23 years old at graduation, that there's other ways to do that. But then once I did start working with the Cowboy Joe Club, working in athletics, it's a lot of hours. We joke around about some of the tasks that we used to do, but we were out putting parking signs up, the couple weeks before the game. And I joke around here to this day, I see a seat in the stadium, like the chairbacks in the stadiums. And I often see them and I cringe a little bit because I remember going out and taping each one of those individual seats and then following up and strapping them on with the wire ties that connect them or the bolts. And a lot of just supporting my supervisors want to do whatever you can to make them look better. And whether that was, folks like Keener, yourself, that in Cowboy Joe Club at that time, or our senior associate athletic director who's overseeing our office. Just take on any task that they ask you to do, because you're going to make their job and their life a little bit easier to focus on the really high level important things that take a lot of thought process and decisions. So it's a grind. And I'm speaking particularly to what I did within my role in athletics, but I think that is true for probably any industry that you're in as you're right out of college. Don't take anything for granted that you've now got this degree and now you have earned something. Really, you've earned the degree, but you haven't earned maybe your place at a senior level within that department yet. So it takes you a long time and a lot of those tasks to get there.
You know, the thing about it that you chose the fundraising side of it, and I really gathered from early on, Jeff, that relationship building was something that you had a background in. I don't know what those relationships are, what all they might have been, but share a little bit about what that looks like for a young professional of beginning to develop the relationships that you're comfortable to encourage them to support a university financially, and the purpose of supporting financially. What does that look like, and what should a young person know about that?
Yeah, I think the main thing is to just be yourself, 100% be yourself, and you have to build those relationships internally within your athletic department or within your job, or and externally, right? So I would say those internally are very important. Whether it's and I say internal within your current role in your position, but I could also say internally within the industry. I would say those relationships are very important, and make sure that you're just keeping those positive. And really the way to keep those relationships positive with these internal folks is just through hard work. People make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, but if you do them through hard work and a good attitude towards everything, you're going to be all right. You can handle the mistakes there. And then I know a big thing that people think about often is early on is they need to network. They need to go out and meet, a bunch of people. And while I do think that networking is important and to build a base of people that you know, I do think that there's got to be particular people within that group that are your true mentors that always are there for you, that can pick up the phone, and they're going to be there. You might have 1,000 people that in the industry, but not all 1,000 of those people are going to be that one mentor or 2 or 3 mentors for you. So person that I've found to be that for me is Athletic Director of Wyoming, Tom Berman. He's been phenomenal to be able to just pick up the phone and call. So find somebody like that. And then externally within relationships as a fundraiser, it's always about finding that common practice or common trait. What do you have in common with this person? Whether it's you obviously most likely in my realm have a common interest in sport, and you have a common interest between they're alum of the school that you're representing. So that's always number one. But learn more about them too. Is there a common interest in your background, or your family's from the same area? Does your child participate in the same events as their child? Sometimes we work with demographics and age groups of all sizes. So is there interest there that you can pull some from where you grew up, or something that you can relate back to them, no matter how old they are, to have that common interest. And then once you start finding those common interests, you build trust. And once you build that trust, you can start asking them if they're comfortable making an investment towards your athletic department or towards your area that you're fundraising for. But I think it really takes that relationship build first.
So go ahead and describe, Jeff, your progress in your titles and your job responsibilities, continuing through Cowboy Joe Club, and then your next moves. I know to Arizona State and then Oregon State and so on and so forth. Take us through these first 5 or 6 years of your career, of what that progression looked like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I, right after graduation, again, I wish I would have started it earlier. Right after graduation, I had some conversations. It was actually my spring semester of my final year. Had conversations with some folks in the athletic department in the OSU Foundation. Keener, you were one of them, obviously, that welcomed me into your office and said, Jeff, here's some things that we might have that might interest you. And John Stark at the OSU Foundation, he was a very useful, I would say, mentor in that sense to help guide me to where I wanted to go. And I said at that time, teaching might not be exactly what I want to do now that I'm learning about this other side of athletics. So I took an internship at the Cowboy Joe Club, and that internship a year later turned into a full-time position. And then, I was very fortunate to be able to elevate within the ranks of Cowboy Joe. And it was a bittersweet day when I left the University of Wyoming. It's definitely close to my heart, and it's in my family's blood. We're true and true Cowboys. But with where my career goals are, I felt I needed to get out and expand and learn more from another institution, and especially at the Power 5 level. I thought that would be very helpful for me. So I did that. There was an opportunity at Arizona State. So I took that opportunity there and, kind of learned a little bit more how a school at that level, largest school in the country, right? I mean, you go from Laramie, Wyoming and University of Wyoming to then the largest school in the country that is really close to knocking on the door of 100,000 students. So I learned valuable things there. And, when more students or more people are at the university, there's more people that you have to collaborate with. And I learned quickly there that it wasn't just, here's my thought process and we're going to move forward with it. Like you had to work with multiple people within that athletic department to make that idea move forward. So that taught me some great lessons. And then while at Arizona State, I was recruited to come here to Oregon State and lead their annual fund for athletics, which has turned into even a little bit grander of a role. Keener, we mentioned the integrated revenue strategies. I work with our multimedia rights partner and connecting donors who also might have corporate interests. I work closely with our ticket office with that relationship between ticket sales and seat contributions. Work closely with our marketing department and the promotion of sales, because without those promotions of ticket sales, we don't receive the seat contributions that fuel our annual fund. And then unique here to my other two positions, I'm actually an OSU Foundation employee rather than an athletics employee. So I integrate our practices within athletics, within the annual fund team and what they're doing at the OSU Foundation, which has been, I would say very beneficial, because we're learning ways of how non-athletics giving and maybe more of that true philanthropic giving compared to the transactional side of athletics works together. So, every step of the way has been something that I've taken from. I think it will definitely make me better and help me get to my career goals.
That's great. I tell you, Jeff, this has been really enjoyable learning about your pathway. A lot of good lessons there to learn. I do know that you also added a master's degree during this process as well, too. College athletics, many times that's looked upon favorably on your resume. And plus what you've gained, the skills you've gained by completing the coursework.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, so early on in my internship with the Cowboy Joe Club, I did elect to start working on my master's. I say elect, I was kind of nudged a little bit by my family saying, if you're only going to work for 20 hours a week, you need to do something else as well. But honestly, grateful for it. So yeah, I received my master's from Southern New Hampshire University. And, along with that working, I joked, I thought I was paid 20 hours a week, but I think that internship was much more than the 20 hours a week. And then after it turned into a full-time position, I didn't have hour limits and I was still working on that master's. So yeah, definitely it took me 3 years to finish my master's online. Among the work hours that seemed to go all through the weekdays and weekends, I found time to sneak in those master's classes, and had a lot of help from friends, and coworkers, that helped me when we're driving from Cody to Sheridan to down to Gillette to, back to, Jackson for our golf tournaments. And I was in the passenger seat doing a lot of that schoolwork while Keener, you were driving.
Few times I was, that's right.
Yeah. So, and the one thing I will say about all of this too is I've mentioned a lot of people throughout the University of Wyoming that have helped me. And, that's particularly in the athletic department, but I would say the University of Wyoming is full of people like that through numerous colleges and numerous units. So even though I'm mentioning specific people, I would encourage anyone who hears this to find those people within their college or the unit they're interested in, because somebody's going to take an interest in them and be able to help and guide them. So that would be a piece of advice that I'd also have for some folks.
That's great. Well, Jeff, you touched on that if you looked back, you would have tried to maybe get an internship or be a student worker in college athletics before you got started, but it certainly turned out great. When you look back, though, and you've shared a lot of useful insights here, is there one final piece of advice for a student, a young alum who may be looking to transition to college athletics? What would that piece of advice be, Jeff?
Yeah, Keener, I'm going to go a little bit more broad than college athletics. And I touched on it a little bit earlier, is just find that passion that you have and research it and see what other ways that there are to get involved in the one or two that you might know of. I will say I'm very grateful for the education that I received through the College of Education. And even today, I was working on things that I think the analytical skills and some of that stuff that I learned in many of those math classes, I'm still putting into use today. But there's a lot of parts of my degree that are business related too. So I wouldn't take anything away from my College of Education degree, but maybe something I'd have taken more business courses as an elective or some other things like that I'd have looked at to help gain that knowledge. But then more specifically to college athletics, just grind, just work. There is the glory of working in athletics. There's a lot of perks. We get to go to some really fun places and meet a lot of good people. But just make sure you have a good attitude and a hard work ethic. And the rest is going to follow and pay some rewards to you.
Well, you certainly, Jeff, have exemplified those qualities. It's been a pleasure to be your friend and coworker, and as an alum, you're giving back by helping us today. And so thank you, Jeff. And then I would encourage any of those who may be watching today, if you want to explore a career in college athletics, higher education, fundraising, if you would like to reach out to us at the Alumni Association, please do. There will be more information on the slide that follows. And Jeff, knowing him, I know he would be available if you want to talk in person as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Jeff. We had a great day today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Keener.